I have never experienced something like what it's like covering a Caitlin Clark game. It's like going to a concert.
The world is watching Caitlin Clark, but not everyone likes what they see. Announcers describe her games as a rock concert, a place where the energy is so electric it feels like a cultural event, not just a basketball game. The deafening roar of the crowd when she pulls up from the logo is undeniable proof that a phenomenon has arrived, a generational talent who commands the attention of millions. But beneath the surface of these sold-out arenas and shattered viewership records, a much darker, more insidious story has been unfolding. For every fan screaming her name, a quiet resistance has been growing from within the very sport she is single-handedly saving. This isn't just a story about basketball, it's about a silent war, where her biggest opponents aren't just on the other team, they're everywhere.
I'd like to ask everyone we interview, and this might be a little difficult, but who is your favorite athlete in women's sports and why?
Ooh, I'll just tell you what happens when an active play-by-play broadcaster gets asked something like that. Like, even people, if they're like, oh, who's your favorite partner to work with or whatever, it's like you start thinking about, like, how do I not anger people who I have relationships with? So the way I will answer it is this. I have never experienced something like what it's like covering a Caitlin Clark game.
This hidden war first erupted into public view not with words, but with brutal, targeted aggression on the court. It became terrifyingly clear. This wasn't just tough defense, it was a message. The world saw it in stunning clarity when Chennedy Carter, the Chicago Sky with the ball nowhere in sight, chose to blindside Clark with a vicious hip check that sent her sprawling to the floor. The foul was only later upgraded to a flagrant one after a national outcry, but the intent was unmistakable. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was the opening shot in a campaign of physical intimidation. Days later, her college rival Angel Reese was seen celebrating after her own flagrant foul, a hard strike to Clark's head. This pattern of cheap shots, hard screens, and off-ball hostility sparked a firestorm of debate. Was this a rookie paying her dues, or was it a calculated league-wide effort by jealous veterans to physically break the new face of their sport? The battle lines were drawn, and it became sickeningly obvious that her fight for respect would be a physical one, played out in bruises and flagrant fouls. But the violence on the court was just a symptom of a much deeper rot, one that was about to be exposed on a global stage.
It's like going to a concert. And the anticipation when she pulls up from 30 feet, the reaction of the crowd, the attention from home, the emotional investment from fans, and a broad stroke of fans, is unlike anything I've experienced in the sports that I cover. So covering her games is just a completely unique experience in the best way.
As the physical attacks mounted, an even more sinister strategy emerged: gaslighting. As millions of viewers watched the blatant targeting of Clark with their own eyes, a coordinated effort began to convince them they were seeing things. Following Chennedy Carter's flagrant foul, her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, initially refused to comment on it, and Carter herself told reporters she had no comment on the hit. It was a masterclass in denial. Pundits and former players flooded the airwaves, dismissing the brutal hits as welcome to the league moments, or just good, hard basketball. They painted Clark as soft, as someone who couldn't handle the physicality, completely ignoring the fact that many of the fouls were happening away from the ball and were clearly not basketball plays. This narrative was designed to do one thing: invalidate the concerns of new fans and portray anyone defending Clark as ignorant of how real basketball is played. It was a calculated attempt to normalize the aggression and shift the blame onto the victim, leaving a generation of new fans wondering if they were going crazy.
And it would be dishonest for me to say anything other than that if you're just talking about a regular season game to a regular season game, because there's just like a very unique phenomenon, which you guys are well aware of, around her that really makes every broadcast she's involved in feel like this big event.
Just when it seemed the controversy couldn't get any bigger, the call that should have been a formality never came. Team USA announced its roster for the 2024 Paris Olympics, and the most famous basketball player on the planet was inexplicably left off the list. The official explanation was so flimsy, it was insulting. They claimed they needed more experience and wanted to prioritize existing chemistry, but the public saw right through it. Whispers immediately grew into roars that the decision was a stunning, calculated betrayal. Reports surfaced that veteran players, fearing Clark's massive star power would overshadow them, had made their displeasure known behind the scenes. Figures like Diana Taurasi, who had publicly sneered that reality is coming for Clark, were seen as the old guard protecting their turf. The establishment had slammed the door in her face, choosing pettiness over performance and politics over popularity. It was the ultimate snub, a shocking move that revealed a deep-seated fear of the very change Clark represented. And what this decision truly exposed was that this was no longer about basketball. It was a silent, calculated conspiracy. But to truly understand the depth of this resistance, you have to acknowledge the unspoken elephant in the room. Caitlin Clark's arrival has inadvertently dragged the WNBA into a heated national conversation about race. As a white superstar achieving unprecedented fame and media attention in a league that is predominantly black, she has become a lightning rod for complex emotions and long-standing grievances. Many feel that the media's obsession with Clark is a glaring example of bias, overlooking years of excellence from black players like A'ja Wilson or Breanna Stewart. This has created a palpable tension, where the praise for Clark is seen by some as an insult to the players who built the league. Whether she intended to or not, Clark has become a symbol of these perceived racial disparities in sports coverage. This adds a deeply volatile layer to the jealousy, transforming on-court rivalries into something far more personal and painful, and trapping her in the middle of a cultural firestorm she did not create. What's perhaps most shocking is that the attacks aren't just coming from her on-court rivals. A significant wave of criticism has come from a place you'd least expect: prominent female sports journalists and former players, the very people tasked with uplifting women's sports. Instead of celebrating the unprecedented growth Clark has brought to the league, some have chosen to frame her success as a problem. They've argued that the intense focus on Clark is problematic and erases the contributions of the black women who have long been the backbone of the WNBA. They've written columns and gone on television to lecture new fans, accusing them of only showing up for a white player. This creates a stunning narrative of betrayal, where the gatekeepers of women's sports seem more interested in policing who gets attention than in celebrating the explosive growth of their league. For Clark, it meant the battle wasn't just on the court, it was being fought in the press, by the very voices that should have been her strongest allies. While players and pundits debate her worth, the numbers tell a story that is not up for debate. The Caitlin Clark effect is a financial earthquake that is fundamentally reshaping the business of women's sport. Her games are not just selling out, they are forcing teams to move to larger NBA arenas to accommodate the demand. Ticket prices on the secondary market have soared, with fans paying hundreds of dollars for nosebleed seats that once went for $10. Her WNBA debut drew an average of 2.12 million viewers, the most watched WNBA game on ESPN in history. Her Indiana Fever jersey sold out online within an hour of the draft, outselling established NFL and NBA superstars. And while her rookie salary is a modest $76,000, she signed a staggering 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike, which includes her own signature shoe, a historic feat for a rookie. This is the irrefutable data, the hard numbers that prove she is a one-woman economic stimulus package. She is the machine her haters cannot stop. Tragically, her historic rise has been hijacked and twisted into something she never intended. Caitlin Clark has become a political football, a symbol weaponized in America's raging culture wars. Commentators on the right have held her up as a hero fighting against a woke sports world, using the fouls against her as proof of reverse racism. Meanwhile, some on the left have painted her as a symbol of unearned white privilege, a beneficiary of a biased media landscape. She rarely speaks on these issues, clearly wanting her game to do the talking, but it doesn't matter. Her image and her story have been co-opted by political actors who use her to score points in their endless ideological battles. She is trapped in a vicious crossfire, where every foul, every comment, and every accomplishment is filtered through a political lens, adding a layer of unbearable pressure that no athlete should have to endure. In the end, this entire saga boils down to a classic conflict, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Caitlin Clark is the unstoppable force, a tidal wave of new fans, record-breaking revenue, and undeniable talent that is pushing the WNBA into the mainstream. The immovable object is the league's old guard, a culture of veteran players protective of their hierarchy, resistant to being overshadowed, and skeptical of a revolution they didn't start. This is more than just a rookie season. It's a battle for the soul of the WNBA. The league is at a historic crossroads, gifted with a once-in-a-generation superstar who can secure its future for decades to come. The only question left is, will the establishment embrace this golden opportunity and rise with her, or will jealousy and internal conflict cause them to squander the greatest gift they have ever received?